Oshiomhole lamented the rapid passage of bills without adequate debate or scrutiny, questioning the relevance of certain bills. He emphasized that the Senate role is not to simply rubber stamp bills, but to provide robust oversight and scrutiny. Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin acknowledged Oshiomhole's concerns, and directed the Senate Committee on Rules and Business to ensure lawmakers receive draft bills at least 2 days before consideration. We're now being joined by Mr. Liberty Wilson, a lawyer, author, and public affairs analyst from Abuja. Good afternoon, Mr. Wilson. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Can you hear me? Good afternoon.
Yes, quite clear. I can hear you, sir.
All right, good afternoon to you today.
It's you too, sir.
How are you doing? It's been a while, you know.
It's been a while, honestly. I really missed the show. I've been very busy lately.
I understand. I totally understand. Okay, so before I take you up on this particular red chamber situation as regards to the rubber stamp comment of Adams Oshiomhole, I'd like to ask you what your take would be as regards to your landlord's outburst a few days ago, as regards to the land grabbing situation. You know, when I use the word your landlord, you live in Abuja, so the FCT minister happens to be your landlord. So what do you have to say about that particular situation?
I honestly, I really find it quite complex to comment on issues of weekend fiscal with a military officer, because looking at the legal aspect that of that commotion is really something that should have been avoided, because Wike, as you said, is the landlord of Abuja by law, and he deserves that respect as the landlord of Abuja. So this is another phase. But coming into the political phase of the entire thing, I would join many other Nigerians to celebrate the military officer for standing up for a lot of us who don't really have the opportunity to face him face to face and look him in the eye and tell him we are not fools. But it was interesting fiscal, Mr. Savior. It was interesting, and even as opinions are flying around, Anyway, I pray it end well. I'm looking ahead to see how it's going to end.
You know, I don't know how true this is, but I saw in the news today that the former Vice President, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, gifted the military officer a brand new SUV. I don't know how correct that particular one is. You know, telling him to, he said he wanted to boost his morale or something, and congratulating him for being a wonderful a soldier, in front of such a politician. Okay, saying all manner of things to him, and he held his ground, and So I don't know how true that particular one is, but regardless of the situation, of course. We dissected that conversation yesterday, on the show, where I asked that question. Was it right for Wike to actually go there himself instead of sending his team, from the ministry? But of course, if you would agree with me, we read in the news that his team has been there, over time, but they were told that the next time they come, and because the team actually mentioned that they were to go there to enforce the situation and, of course, take their bulldozer to pull everything down. And they were told by the military that if they see them again coming with their bulldozer, that they will be shot on sight. I am not sure of this comment, but that was what the Wike camp mentioned. Hence, the minister of FCT actually went himself to see the military officers. But regardless, let's see what would happen in the coming days, because so many leaders are actually calling on the president to relieve the FCT minister of that particular position. And not only that, they said he needs to apologize to the Nigerian military, and some said that for him to have done that, it shows that politicians have so much power that they don't even, respect the military or even rate them, to an extent anymore. And I think Brutai also gave a comment as regards to that situation, saying that Wike's comment threatens the security architecture of Nigeria, and of course, demeaning the position of the commander-in-chief, which happens to be the president. So many comments as regards to that conversation. But let's see what will happen in the coming days, because for now, we've not heard anything directly to Wike. All we've been saying is that it's either the president saying that the military is trying and congratulating them and telling them to steadfast, and Nigerians support them. And the defense minister, everyone has just been talking about the military. No one has really talked about Wike or even mentioned anything that has to do with Wike. But let's come back to the Edo State man. Let's come back to Senator Oshiomhole. How do you interpret Oshiomole's comment on the Senate situation, saying that they are a rubber stamp under Akpabio's leadership? And of course, I think we've had some conversation as regards to what the Senate have been doing, of late. When once they have anybody that they want to screen, all they just do is take a bow and go. When once they go through, sometimes their CV and next thing, oh, we know this person, we know your pedigree, we know this, blah, blah, take a bow and go. So I'm surprised that this whole situation is coming from Oshiomhole. Of late, Oshiomhole has quite been, vocal in the Senate, with some reforms and, some situations. So is it like there's a fallout in the APC? We don't know. But this is the same Oshiomhole that said, if you move to the APC, your sins are forgiven. So today, if you actually complain about your own Senate, that you are acting like a rubber stamp under Akpabio's leadership, what would that particular statement mean to us? So I'd like you to take us on this particular one.
So, in seasons like this, when we find ourselves in seasons of political alignment and realignment in Nigeria, commenting on public affairs like this becomes so difficult, because you don't really know whether those assertions are made with the interest of building the system, or are just merely political statements. And in seasons like this, you discover that everybody comes out to just claim patriotism, because somehow, because anyway, I heard from somebody that Adams Oshiomhole is eyeing that seat. so this is another aspect of this discourse. And then even when I saw it, I said, that may be true.
I also heard that Oji Uzokalu.
And then I had a conversation with.
I also heard Mr. Liberty. I also heard that Oji Uzokalu also is eyeing that seat. Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir. With you.
Yeah, so I said I also heard that Oji Uzokalu, is also eyeing that particular seat as we speak, and now you are actually making that, revelation, in as much as we can actually say it allegedly, okay, but maybe, just maybe, Adams Oshiomhole is also eyeing the seat of that Senate president. So we don't know, but just like your statement, this is election period. They are all working towards election period, and so many people have been coming out to say so many things. We don't know if it's about patriotism. We don't know if it's about the care for the people or their political statements. But I'd like to ask, do you think that the Senate's role is being compromised by the executive arm of government?
Yes, Mr. Silvio, a critical aspect of our processes, especially the principle of separation of power and the oversight that exists between the various arms of government in this country, has been an issue of discourse in Nigeria. And a critical analysis, when you look at, since the exit of Saraki and Dogara, we've never really had a legislative arm of government that have demonstrated a religious stand against the executive. Again, since that time, we've never really seen something like that. And then for since Buhari's time, since APC time generally, all we've been seeing is, other than the Buhari's first time, since APC time generally, what we've seen are issues of, the president deciding who becomes the Senate president, and then whatever thing that comes from the president, he just approve. Those guys look like they doesn't even spend time through those going through those processes to see whether their approval has a lot to do with what is going to benefit the citizenry, or just not to offend the president. So in my own humble opinion, what is really happening in Nigeria is we have a Senate system that is pocketed by the legislative arm of government. And trust me, sir, Mr. President decide who becomes the Senate president. And then the question, you remember we had a discourse here sometimes back about Natasha and the influence of various arms of government in our ordeal. The answer is literally simple. The president decides who becomes the Senate president. And if the president decides, we've been singing out Akpabio, you can see how Akpabio was singing in a particular event and singing, president, whatever. To me, he has reduced that prestigious seat of the Senate to just, one thing that we cannot even describe. And then to me personally, over time, it is glaring and it's quite clear that the Senate, the legislative arm of the government, is literally in the pocket of the executive arm of the government. And unless this is solved, trust me, we'll begin to continue to have these issues of rubber stamp, these issues of just come and go. The president said this person should be released, and then yes, go, because the president said so. And provided these issues are there, I don't even know if so to say, but then our legislative processes, honestly, is especially the oversight aspect of the legislative arm of government is really very bad. It's really very bad.
Okay. Talking about independence, of the Senate, how can the Senate maintain its independence and exert authority in a democratic system? And of course, I would like to talk about the legislative process. What changes would you like to see implemented to improve the legislative process in the Senate?
Sir, I don't think something needs to be done to really improve legislative processes. Everything is there. When you look at the Senate standing orders, you see all this noise that we are making, you just discover that the laws are there. The issue is having the capacity or possessing the doggedness to really ensure that those processes are genuinely and religiously followed. These are issues, these are the crises we have, and these are systematic deformity. The over time, all this, the deformity of the system have been occasioning. We have the Senate standing orders, and section 58 probably, I may be wrong, but I think section 58 of the Senate standing order provided a process where a law shall become, one of the processes rather, is through a passage of bill in the National Assembly. And that particular standing order provides for the processes a bill must pass through. And phase one of that process is first reading. And first reading is usually done by the clerk of the House. And literally, he just reads the short title of the bill, tell you that this bill is for establishment of this and that, and it's done. And from there, the bill goes to the second stage. And the second stage is known as the second reading. And under the second or the legislator responsible for the sponsorship of that bill will stand in the floor of the House and explain to the House the rationale and the principle governing the bill. And under the second reading, other legislators are allowed to give their input about how the law is going to be. And if they have a lot of questions, they ask the questions for clarity, and then they debate the bill. After that, when the bill is passed to, there's a stage known as the committee stage. The bill is passed to the committee. That's why you have a lot of standing committees in the Senate. Though in Nigeria, that committee is now about political party. If you belong to my party, I give you a juicy committee. Just as a co-guest on this show last time was talking about the appointments in the Senate. But then ideally, those committees are supposed to be team of experts from the legislature. There are those who are lawyers, there are those who are medical personnel, there are those who are marine and construction engineers. So usually those committees are set, and those experts are made heads of those committees. And then through the committee, they carried out the expert analysis of that bill. And after making the expert analysis of that bill, they pass it down to the Senate and say that, okay, we've carried out an expert analysis of this bill. These are the deformity, these are the policy implications, and these are the public interest implication, and these are the imports that this policy is going to have on our international relationships and foreign policy. Now, when the committee is done with that stage, it passes it over again for third reading. And the third reading is just for the purpose of making consequential analysis and adjustment rather in the bill. If there are minor errors like typography, like some of those things, they are adjusted. And the next stage again is the harmonization process. The same bill is passed again to the second arm, the second legislative arm. If the bill is sponsored by the House Representative, it is passed to the Senate for harmonization. If it is sponsored by the Senate, it is passed to the House Representative for harmonization. The last stage is the presidential assent. Trust me, the laws are there, the operational principles are there, and then what is expected is a stricter sense of adherence to that principle. And over time now, those people are not even adhering. So, all the places of a public hearing and the rest of the legislative processes are there in all these stages, but they are not adhering. So to talk about legislative processes and the applicability of the law is there, sir, and the law has laid down principles that need to be followed for a bill to become a law, just that they are not being followed. So if there is a discourse to make in this particular platform today, it's not the part of law that needs to be improved. It's a discussion on how the law on ground is going to be effectively followed, sir.
Okay, so if that's what you would actually mention as regards to what the Senate were to do, right? Okay, which of course we have the part already. And just in your statement, you talked about the committee being formed based on merit and not political parties, okay, and not about favorites. Because you would agree with me that the most juicy committee in the Senate today, as of today in Nigeria, is the appropriation committee for appropriation bills, right? If I'm correct. And this has been ongoing for a while now. And as regards to bills where sometimes they don't even do their proper scrutiny, they just let it just go like that. They just pass the reading and that's the end. So how can Senate ensure the lawmakers receive adequate briefing and documentation on bills? And do you think that the current committee system in the Senate is effective in scrutinizing bills? Because if we're talking about party and we're talking about the executive arm, based on the influence, wherever the bill is coming from, whatsoever it is, will they really want to put their integrity on the table to scrutinize this bill, or it will still be this rubber stamp conversation that we're having today?
Yes, sir. The place of experts in our legislative processes cannot be overemphasized. And then, just before I talk about the committee issue that you mentioned, there is an important aspect I want to bring to the notice of for our hearers. And that important aspect is that the policy approach to the lawmaking process does not just limit to the committee to so as that. It extends to the members of the public, because the law and the Senate Standing Order provides for public hearing. And that public hearing, usually, you give the members of the public an opportunity to air their opinions about the bill. And this public hearing, sir, does not just involve members of the citizenry. It doesn't limit there. It extends to members, it extends to diplomats, it extends to members of civil society. It extends yes. So, when you look at those critical aspects, there are experts that you need to bring in. And then talking about the committee, just as you rightly mentioned, we have crisis. We have serious crisis. Look, for example, the chairman of a committee on foreign affairs is Senator Sani Bello. And then, to the best of my knowledge, Senator Sani Bello is not an expert in foreign policy. And this is a senator that is heading a committee on foreign affairs. And if Trump said something, we'll come and shout and say that why the hell is he shouting on our country? But then we have an arm of the legislature that's supposed to strategically engage the international community through these foreign platforms. And these committees are not being headed by experts. There are experts in that house. Look, for example, defense, the Chairman Committee on Defense, I think it's Ahmed Lawan, the immediate past Senate President. And I can tell you with all of my heart that you have a zero knowledge on issues of defense. So, you're bringing these people who have zero knowledge on issues of particular committee and make them just head of that committee because you want to bless their loyalty to a particular system
Okay, I think we're having a network glitch there.
Is corrected, we will continue to have these serious issues in our entire legislative processes.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Can you hear me, Mr. Wilson? All right, so let's talk about accountability and transparency. How can lawmakers ensure they are accountable to their constituents, okay, while making laws? And of course, you talked about, people's view, the Nigerians, as regards to whatsoever bill that it needs to be passed and whatsoever they need to do. So what role should public opinion play in shaping the Senate decision?
Yes, it's very important. Personally, I think a demography that have really done good to our legislative processes in Nigeria is the civil society demography, and then their impact on our entire legislative processes cannot be overemphasized. And then we need to really do more in then joining the members of the civil society in creating awareness on these issues of legislative processes. The truth about the matter is that, Mr. Savior, do you know that the law permits us to apply to a court for a nullification of a law that does not pass through standard legislative processes? If a law does not pass through a standard legislative processes, you and I can apply to the court for a nullification of that law. And then a lot of us do not even know that this law exists. It's another thing. So, civil societies need to, and they have been enlightening the people to utilize the Freedom of Information Act. Through the Freedom of Information, we can apply to the courts for an enforcement of the rights of our citizens to access to relevant information like the processes of legislative processes. And I believe that through that, we can be able to have a system that promotes accountability, because I don't really believe that the members of the Senate who have been romancing this war, this process that is just lopsided, can actually enlighten people on what to do. So now, instead of saying that what are the members, no, I think civil societies, I believe in that demography so well, and they have done a lot, They have proven me and you very right that they are a demography that have done so well in enlightening the people. They can do more, enlighten the people to utilize the Freedom of Information Act, enlighten the people to do more in enforcing their right to information, enlighten the people to know that I can apply to a court for a nullification of any law that does not pass through a laid down legislative process. I think when this is done, the members of the public are going to in fact discover that indeed I have a voice, and then I can really work for the enforcement of this voice.
Okay. So still in line with accountability and transparency, do you think that the Senate proceedings are transparent enough? But I would like to take it simultaneously on this particular one. Let's talk about party loyalty and independence. How do you reconcile party loyalty with the need for independent decision-making in the Senate?
Okay, the Senate, literally, I can say, I'm very careful of my sentiment whenever I want to talk about the Senate, because I have this conceived notion that they have trust me, they have proven me right on diverse instances that they have not, that they cannot really perform their duties as they have been elected to do. But I think transparency in the Senate can be promoted. The things are there, so all is required is a will to do so. First, I think we need to sanitize our system. We need to sanitize our system of this lopsided appointment into various committees. Let's appoint people that knows they are right. Let's appoint experts who know what to do. It's an aspect of promoting transparency. Trust me, officer, by the time somebody that have knowledge of foreign policy is appointed to head foreign affairs committee, whenever his right is being trampled upon, he will raise his voice and say that, I'm a member of this, I'm the chairman of this committee. You can't do this without going through a legislative process that involves me as a committee member. So an aspect of promoting this accountability first is ensuring that the appointment of experts into those various committees, number one. Secondly, Senate must possess the will to really act according to the laid down rules and regulation. And then I thank Oshiomhole because he's speaking now. Forget the political aspect of that statement, but trust me, he's adding our voice. He's adding his voice to our voices. We, the voices of dissent, we people that have been having problem with the system. Now he's now coming to say, me honestly, I do not view his statement as a political infighting, but I view it as a honest acknowledgement of the decay of our legislative process. So I think Senate needs to join Adams Oshiomhole. Let's rise up and say that there is a way that this thing should be done. There is a pattern, and this pattern is not being followed. And providing this pattern is not followed, we're going to be having a lot of issues. So Senate needs to rise to these responsibilities. Another aspect of promoting this transparency. Another thing is, let's see if we can have a legislative check, or sorry, the judicial checks on these entire processes. These laws they are making are interpreted by the judicial arm of government. And this judicial arm of government has the power to by itself nullify a law, provided that law does not follow. And now let's see if these checks and balances are going to be put in place. By the time the legislature tell the Senate that, okay, by the time the legislature nullified one law for lack of due process, next time the Senate are going to be careful in doing so. So these issues of transparency in the legislative arm of government are systematic problems. And then for us to be able to correct them, there must be a will by the people, by those heading those various systems, to really act according to the laid down procedures. So through this, I know for a fact that transparency can be promoted. And then on the independence of the Senate, I think it starts from who becomes the Senate president. We have seen it during the Ogaras and Saraki's time. These are people who come against all odds, because we knew that the president, they were not the candidates of the president, but somehow they managed to become. And then it's one of the interesting times of the Nigerian Senate. It's one of the interesting times of the Nigerian Senate. Those boys, then Senator I remember, a lot of them that were so vocal in that house. So you don't have people like this in that kind of system that somehow, if you don't do it, they're going to talk. When you have people like that, it's automatically a check on the system. So Senate must take responsibility, the judicial arm must take responsibility, and the Senate itself must also arise to know that it is an independent arm of a government with power on its own. So you should be able to possess that capacity to stand alone, do your thing, and ensure that you're not being influenced by anybody, irrespective of who that person is. And then most importantly, sir, the appointment itself should be devoid of executive influence. Let's see, the president is not going to influence this process. Through this, we can be able to have a Senate president who can actually talk to the president. But by the time the president just put his hand in the pocket and then point and say, Mr. Savior becomes the Senate president, and then let's say you become the president, I said, no, now I remember those early days with Barrister Liberty. Let me call him to become whatever of the Senate, and blah blah blah. I say, no, now it's my old-time friend, so I have to protect your interests. So these are the issues. So Senate must arise and take its own independence, and trust me now, violently.
That's a very wonderful submission, because we still have questions around, party whipping compromises the independence of lawmakers, and of course, how can lawmakers balance party loyalty with their oath of office? But of course, these questions will keep lingering, everywhere as regards to the Red Chamber. But let's talk about effectiveness and relevance as we close the program. Are there any bills that you think are unnecessary or redundant? And how can the Senate improve its effectiveness in lawmaking?
Sorry, can you come again, sir? Sorry.
I said, are there any bills, that you think are unnecessary or redundant? And how can the Senate improve its effectiveness in lawmaking?
Thank you so much, Mr. Savior. Personally, as a lawyer, I don't believe that a law is not important. So sometimes the law might not really affect me as an individual directly, or the fact that it doesn't affect me directly does not mean that the law is redundant or the law is bad or the law is faulty. So as a lawyer, speaking from a professional perspective, every law is good, every bill is okay, if even if it has no immediate or direct impact on me as an individual, it is still fine. But I feel like the effectiveness of that legislative processes can be improved by a stricter sense of adherence to the laid down principles guiding or as stipulated in the Senate standing orders. So those principles are there. What is expected of us is a stricter sense of adherence to those principles. The principle provide for the stages a legislative process or a bill making process is going to, or a lawmaking process is going to pass through. Let's adhere to it. This is the only aspect I know that we can improve in our legislative processes. And then most importantly, one thing that we've been doing in this country, or the legislative arm of the government have been doing in this country, is that they are undermining the place of experts' opinion in lawmaking. And I can tell you for a fact, sir, that there are some laws that I have picked and I've gone through, even the fact that I'm not a constitutional law expert, but then just in my peripheral knowledge of law and of lawmaking processes, there are some laws that I've gone through and I've just seen that, oh no, this shouldn't be like this. You just see a law, they can make a law today and then tomorrow that law is not existing again, or that law is outdated. So we don't make law that looks ahead. We don't make laws that can still be effective in the next 10 years. And this is a very ineffective legislative process. And now the best way to deal with this is to engage experts in the law making processes. Now, if I have a bill and then that bill has to do with the marine, let me see a possibility of bringing experts from the law sector of the marine. Let's see those experts in the marine law. 1, let me see if I can bring experts from the naval force. 2, let me see if I can bring experts, in fact, from the communities of the riverine areas, as those members of the communities may have something that you, as a lawyer that is seated under an air condition in Abuja, will not really know. So let's see how we can inculcate them into this process. And then let's see how we can also bring marine engineers. We have a lot of people that are there. This is their own expertise. So now, through this making, we can be able to have a law that looks ahead. We can be able to have a law that after, we can still, the law that can still be effective after 50 years and after 100 years. And trust me, sir, there are laws in Nigeria that are so archaic, that are long time ago. I can give you an example with the Land Use Act. Land Use Act, this law that Wike is relying on, and all this noise you're hearing. I know for a fact that you have been hearing them talking about the Land Use Act.
Yeah.
Land Use Act has been here for quite a long time ago, but trust me, sir, if you look at that law, there is no single lacuna in that law. There is nothing in that law that you can find to slot out a misfortune. In a way or the other, it is well made. This is to tell you that the makers of that law ensure that it passed through a genuine legislative process. Now, for us to be able to have these laws that are going to ensure its notoriety, because one thing about the law is that the law must be notorious. Over time, the law must pass the test of time. So now, for us to have a law that maintain its structural and the notoriety of principle, we must bring in experts that make that law in prospect of what is ahead. So I think by strict adherence to this principle, we can actually enhance our lawmaking processes.
All right, thank you so much, Mr.